Hey, video diary. So, another day, another night of bad dreaming. It tends to be in the morning where I have a dream. I don't know if you can hear my wife playing her clarinet scales. When I get ready to practice the guitar, I'll stretch out my hands. It's very important, to try to also massage out the forearms, the wrists, that kind of thing, and to get real relaxed with your hands. I take every finger, massage it for a while, the knuckles. My son was studying jiu-jitsu, practicing jiu-jitsu for a few years, and as a sort of homage to him, I began to study myself 6 months ago, and it's reshaped my hands in some not so great ways, as you can see here. Fortunately, that's in this position of the guitar string, so after it, whatever, it's cool. If it went the other way, it would have been a problem. I held on too hard. Sounds like a metaphor, and it is. So after I warm up a little bit, I warm up physically. I will play every note of the guitar, just so that the instrument itself and my hand experiences every single note. And then I do this thing called the master exercise, which consists of 4 positions that each have 2 positions under them of higher sounds. And so along the fretboard, these 4 things times 3, and then each of those positions has a small series of exercises, lines, typically enclosures and or melodic minor scales, and then I will do an exercise in each of those positions of the 1-6-2-5 in major, 2-5-1 in minor, and dee doo dee bo bo pee bum, and with the chords in every one of those places, because in jazz, that 2-5-1-6 or 2-5-1 chord progression is the building block of tunes. You can look at any tune and identify those types of architectures, and underlying that is really, if you want to get accurate about it, it's all about tension and release, or A to B. This cannot be sustained, this happens. This cannot go any further, this happens. That's the nature of all music. Even modal music, like Indian music, it'll build up a tension, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, it releases, and it's huge. Wagner would create hours of music with no perfect cadence, 5/1, dun dun cadence until the very last notes. So you're listening to music for hours without one of those resolutions, and then when it comes, it's like psychologically orgasmic. So I'll do that. I'll do the master exercise. I'll sing it. I sing through the different chord qualities, major, dominant, minor, half diminished, and diminished. And I'm just really committing these days to fluency in those things, because as a very wonderful professor told me, she said that you can't make anything unless you can hear it. You can't make music unless you can hear it first. And I had always just played music on the guitar. I took the guitar, I played this note, and that was the making of music. But what she was trying to suggest to me is that it's in your mind, and you need to hear it and pitch it up there, and then bring that out of instruments of your choosing. And that the voice is a really good demonstration of this, because it immediately comes out of you. And if you just let it come out and then try to fix it, it's not as good a strategy as trying to fix it or, set it in your mind, in your ears is what they mean, your mind, and then let it come out of you in tune already. I didn't think I could do this stuff, I was terrible in math and but when you do something slowly and you just build it up one little piece at a time, and that's what I was talking about. I found ways to link one exercise to another and go, oh, wow, that just became how I'm going to play, giant steps. Now I'm playing giant steps. This was a dream. This was a wish for myself years ago. I couldn't understand how some musicians just, how the hell were they doing it? Singers. And what's great about it is music is a meritocracy. It's like, it doesn't matter what color you are, or where you come from, or whether you're a male or female, it's you. Nobody is you. Nobody can ultimately become the ultimate you as an artistic, expression. You got to work your ass off to do it, and a few people said that to me, people that I knew had really understood music in general, and that I really respected their I don't want to say talent, because like Kenny Werner says, it's familiarity. It's how familiar are you with what you're doing, I think we are generally born with some leanings. I think both my kids were born with the personalities that they have today. It's weird. So it's almost, I think it's a combination of things, but I don't know if I'm a natural musician or a natural, martial artist. I worked really hard to participate in those things. I knew that I wanted each of those things, and they weren't in my childhood. They weren't important in my lineage, my family, in that sense. They came from me. And they're very private in some way as well. Like, I needed not just, I don't want recognition, I want depth. I've met many famous people, not many, but let's say some of the people that I've spoken to, which you'd consider famous. I had more than one or two conversations with people about how they felt blocked because they couldn't just do the intense artwork because of what that was expected of them based on their career level. Like comedians who are like, man, I wish I could do what you're doing because it's totally free. But, there's now a structure built upon me that expects me to do this, and I have to do it, or they don't work with me. It's weird. So we all, have to figure out how we're going to be mystics in the world. Being a musician is almost like delving into that level of understanding things in the now to such a degree that time disappears. It's very connected to some traditions of mysticism, let's say. I'm finding. I don't know if I care, I don't know if I'm not trying to get anything anymore. I was. Now I'm just in a stream somehow. I suppose I want to get my music out there, and I do compose. I was very aggressive in the year before Forrest died. That was when I was starting to put together my group. We were playing out. It was a new thing. I got some cool press, some great press. And it all stopped because, the nature of the group is there was four of us who sang and played, and the music was really joyous, and it just wasn't. It hasn't been something I've been able to do. I'm not very. I haven't been very. I don't know. I just I haven't been able to do it. I've done a bunch of lots of gigs, and I play with people, and things are changing. I was resistant to this, but people would say, "Oh, after 6 months, you'll feel differently than you do after 6 days," which is obvious that would happen. I met somebody who lost their attic 3 years ago, and they say it's like, still feels like the first month. Anyway, I'm going to go practice now. Oh, I guess I should say I do that. I do those exercises, and I try to get to tunes, because one of my teachers, Rick Stone, said play tunes, because inside the songs themselves, that's what people are going to ask you to play. They're not going to ask you to play exercises, or they're going to want to hear tune. They're going to want to depart from where they are and be transported to wherever the music is. So the vehicle for that is the songs themselves. And so today I'll spend a good amount of time with that, and then I'll play with Jenny, who's a really awesome singer and plays clarinet, and we run through tunes. Oh, man. This is what I would tell Forrest. And we would talk about his playing and how he organizes it. And, I didn't want to shove it down his throat either. I was like, look, do you play scales? Here, I'm going to send you these ones. And I would play them and express to him the importance of these particular ones and how I'd use them, and he would catch on. I would sense like where he could go, but he was super bright about music, and the connections were coming. Once they start coming and you start to realize like, oh, that's the thing we talked about yesterday and it connects to this thing, and oh, I'm going to connect those two arpeggios, and like before you know it, you're like, wait a second, this can do this. And he was starting to, through some of my help and his own efforts, he was playing every week, unfortunately with a kid that he started shooting up with. I didn't know that until his funeral. So I was a little disappointed about that all the great conversations we had about playing with this kid ended up, with Forrest injecting him with ketamine because that was his drug, and then Forrest shot up with heroin because that was his drug. And I learned that at my son's funeral. And that's all I know, but like I'm like, how much more story is there in that? Forrest could have been so many things. Today we got up and we were grieving him. And we often wonder, and I say we because Jenny and I, but we wonder sometimes, or I wonder, like, was he doomed when he first started it? Because I'm having memories now of 10 years ago when he was using it. Or 8 years ago, or 7 years ago, whenever it was. When he was using it and saying how stupid was I not to know that, like, you believe what your kids tell you. If they're walking around, they seem okay, you think they're okay. You don't want to, like, distrust people as a policy. I tell you, I do feel very much now that I cannot trust people, nor do I have to, because I already know that they're not telling me the truth. Or it's couched, it's nested, it's diffused, it's biased, it's you know what I'm saying? It's so many things are done to the truth that it's not really the truth when it gets to you, and you have to know that. I know I loved him, and I told him that frequently, and we experienced a lot of things together. And we shared things that I don't even share with other people, that I knew that he genuinely loved for his own reasons, which was really great, like the guitar and martial arts. I mean, yeah, I got him into it, but he saw a path for himself. What I don't understand is heroin. I don't understand how somebody would want to do such a disgusting drug, or a drug that turns them into that and potentially kills you, except to say that the high must be, really great and all that. But my musical practice, it was something that I shared very deeply with my son. And it has become although I have colleagues, it has become a very private place now.